Welcome to episode 3 of Loans and Drones. I'm Bill Pendley, and we are here today with Emily Kazcmarek, and we're talking niches get the riches. So many times in the industry, or any industry for that matter, especially when you're starting out, you tend to go like buckshot. So when it comes to real estate in particular, Emily has really dialed this piece in. She was going after first-time home buyers, and she's built a really good, solid foundation from that to the point where she's actually created a real big success with it. We've done about 30 webinars on this, and then also she's gotten even good volume with regards to numbers as far as real estate. And not to mention, she's won a really special award called 30 Under 30. I always brag about her because one time we were actually doing a deal together just right after she won this, and we actually won a deal where there were 30 other offers, and she has just got the gift of finding out what the sweet spot is for her first-time home buyers. So let's get into it. Emily, thank you so much for joining us today. So niches get the riches. Let's talk about first-time home buyers. Why did you get into that?
So first of all, thanks for having me here. I'm so excited to be here. How this all started was really during COVID. I knew I wanted to work with first-time buyers just because that was kind of like the age that, I knew the most people. And it really started right after COVID. I was like, well, what's a way where I can connect with people and help them buy? And there really wasn't a good option. I mean, a lot of times people do those like first-time buyer workshops in person, but I'm like, why not take it virtual? So I spent a good amount of time setting up a process for this webinar, the content, and marketing it. And I just, it started kind of as nothing, but we've been doing it for the past 3 years or so.
Yeah. And
it's been a lot of fun.
Well, when she says it started out as nothing, we had about 6 or 7 people on the first call, and I think we closed about 1 or 2 after that. So it was a great starting point to build momentum with this. And I always joke with Emily, and I say, listen, I'm just there to be a resource on these webinars. She's the one that created it. So she put it all together, and it's just built a really nice flow of business. And I think the biggest thing of this is that you're educating. So when we get into the educating part, what were you seeing on street level with people? What were the biggest questions that you were hearing?
Oh gosh. I mean, pretty much everyone was coming in with like a very low baseline knowledge of how to buy a home. And I feel like that's something I kind of latched onto. Was I felt like I was, kind of doing the same spiel over and over again with buyers, which, you're going to do that regardless. But I just felt like there was such a gap in understanding the process. And I know that real estate is built on trust. So I'm like, okay, I need to be that trusted advisor for this buyer. And what better way to do it than providing information and support up front so that when they do make that decision to go buy, they're ready to go, and you've already built that trust with them. So that's really where it started.
I love it. And I like the fact that you also specifically state that you're not just a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. You have always said this in the webinars that we've had, I'm an advisor. And I think that's something that not a lot of people are talking about right now. So
yeah, I think it's super important. Obviously we're real estate agents, we're salespeople. That's one way to say it, but I don't know, that salesy, it's just kind of like a slimy feeling. To me, like, I don't like to think of it like that. It's like, I truly love to connect with these buyers and really provide a value. And I feel like you get to closing day and it just makes it all worth it. You've built this relationship with somebody and you've helped them along the way, and you really feel like you're doing something positive for someone.
What was the click button? Like when you said, I want to start this webinar, where was that at? Like what started that?
I mean, I think just like everyone, you kind of have to learn what works for you and what doesn't. My first year, I started off doing everything under the sun. I did farming, I did, going after for sale by owners and expired listings. But I kind of started to see like a shift where it's like there's not as many listings, there's more buyers. A lot of these buyers are younger, first-time buyers, and I'm like, okay, that's a good niche to capture. And I really want to focus on that because I feel like that's where I was seeing the most, come of, what I was putting into it. I worked really hard on getting listings, but it doesn't always happen super quick or super natural. But I felt like connecting with first-time buyers felt a lot more natural for me.
Yeah. And it has led into other sources of business. I mean, it's just, I think it's people don't want to be put in a box, but you have to start somewhere, especially when you are starting out in the business. I remember when I was just showing you the baby face that I had hair and everything. I didn't know anybody because I'm originally from Michigan. And when I came over here, I'm like, I don't have anybody to talk to. So I have to go out there and hustle on the street level. And so I really went after the first-time homebuyer piece too, and also the no money down. Well, that's back when they had a lot of no money down products. So that's just what I did, and it created a success. Then as you build that foundation, then it leads to others. And I think that so many people think, oh, I'm not going to do that. I want to do everything. Well, maybe that's not necessarily the way to go at times. Let's rewind a little bit. So what got you into the business?
I feel like there's a couple of different things that brought me here, but a big part of it was I was working a corporate job. I was in my mid-20s. I was living in the city, and I just felt unfulfilled. And I felt like I'm very impatient as a person. I want more challenges. I want what's next. I wanted to rise up the corporate ladder, but it wasn't happening as quick as I wanted it to. And I felt like I needed to take matters into my own hands and do something that I felt more like proud of myself. And that was like more of a challenge for me. And I always thought like down the road, I would eventually get into real estate, but I was like, who's going to hire a 25-year-old? Like who's going to trust, somebody like that? And I'm like, you know what? You just got to do it now. You just got to pull the trigger and figure it out. And I'm very stubborn. And I knew that if I said I was going to do it, I was going to hold myself to it. Also, my grandparents, 3 out of the 4 of my grandparents were in real estate.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow,
so
okay.
On my mom's side, my grandma and my grandpa were both a team in Hinsdale, and they worked. They did a fair amount of business, and my grandma passed away pretty young, and I always admired her, and that was just something like in the back of my head. I was like, I want to be like her.
Wow, that's awesome. I had no idea.
Yeah. So it was a combination of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And you were in tennis, so I always go back, and I'm always intrigued by people that get into our industry. And I say our, which is the real estate world. And I talk to a lot of athletes. There's that need to either be driven or, like you just said, look, I wasn't moving as fast as I wanted to in the corporate level. So I wanted something else that was going to challenge me. And then also too, to know that you can adapt to the environment. That's an athlete in my mind. So tell me a little bit about that. How does that play into your world of real estate?
It's interesting. I never really attributed, how I am now to that. But I think there are a lot of common, personality traits or, things that I've learned from that have made me a more successful realtor and, someone that strives to do better. But yeah, I played tennis throughout high school and then college. I always was a singles player. I really liked doubles, but I felt like I didn't want to let my partner down. So I was always just very like in my head. And I felt like when it was just me out on the court by myself, I was all I could rely on. So I kind of doubled down and I figured out, how to pull out some wins. And I had a great time. Just, I love being competitive. And yeah, I feel like a sport like tennis is very similar to, I think, what I'm doing now, because, you're out there by yourself. I'm running my own business, right? But at the same time, you're on a team still. And it really boils down to like when you're going against, your rival, it depends on the team score just as much as your own score. So you're relying on your teammates and you're building them up and you're, cooperating with them and helping them out, cheering them on. And I feel like that's what this business is. Like, you're your own singles player, but then you have the lender, you have your attorney, you have the inspector, and you all are working together to accomplish a goal.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty cool that we have the ability to do that.
Yeah. And don't let the sweet demeanor fool you. She does have the grit. I mean, I see it. You probably don't even see it. So I'll just tell you what I see from my perspective is that when she gets into a deal and we're trying to figure out what's on the other side of the table with regards to what's going on with the seller side. So a lot of times, obviously, we're working with a buyer on our side. She knows she's got a gift of finding out what's going on, what's the sweet spot. So that's one of her, I don't think there's a lot of people that can have that gift in this industry, and you do have it. The other thing too is that I do see the competitive side. Like we go back to that 30, that was like kind of like the drop the mic moment where I go, whoa, like now I understand why she won the 30 under 30 award, which is a huge award that not very many people get. I saw that sheer grit and competitive nature in that moment when we were on a Sunday night. It was about 10 p.m. and she goes, I think we got this. We got this. Out of 30 people, we can win this deal. I'm like, that's awesome to watch that. So yeah, that just gave me a newfound respect for you. And just, I did see that athlete in you, like going after it and like literally crushing it. So
those clients really wanted it. They had put in some offers before, and I felt for them and I wanted to do my best for them. And I think that's when like the competitiveness kind of like, it just manifests, and it's like, okay, we got to do this and we got to figure out how to make this work. And, sometimes it just doesn't work out, but I like to believe that what's meant to be will be. And, but you have to give it your, 110%, I think, in order to.
What I like what you just said there is that they wanted it, so you were fighting for them. Like you were going after that deal, and it just shows the authenticity and how you care about your clients. I remember I listened to Brian Buffini a while back, and he was talking about Lou Holtz, and there's 3 things that people look at when they're trying to either build a team or use somebody for their services. And they go, can I trust you? Mm-hmm. Are you good at what you do? And do you care about me? Mm-hmm. And right there, just watching how you fought for that deal, that showed that you cared, especially like right there. I didn't know that how much they really wanted it. As a real estate agent, you see front line how much these people get as far as emotion. I don't see. I see the numbers. They get emotional about the numbers. Yeah. But when it comes to them wanting a house, the real estate agent knows more about what that emotional level is with the buyer. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like reading people. I feel like this business also is a lot having to do with psychology, learning how to read people and work with people and how people come upon the decisions that they make. And there's a lot of things that go into it. And I think it's really important to just be there to analyze the situation and figure out, all right, how bad do they want this? And what are they willing to do to get it? And, what can I do to better teach them what else is going on in this environment, in this market, to help them make the best decision for them.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of important things. Sometimes people want things for the wrong reason, but I think they, them in particular, it was like they had lost a few already. They already knew what this market was like, and they were willing to come in guns a-blazing and do what they could to get the deal. And I was like, well, if they're going to do that, I'm going to do that too.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I saw it. I think one of the things as you're talking about this, and I love when you brought up the psychology part, because you are a thinker. Like in our worlds, there's not a lot of people that actually can take it from a methodical standpoint and really put a pen to paper and go, okay, this is how this works. this is how this works. Like we said, a lot of it is buckshot. So everybody just going like, I'm particular. I'm like a shiny lure guy. I'm like a fish. my attention span is horrible. So I need somebody to guide me that's like Emily. And Emily's got a combination of both. She's got the sales side, which she doesn't like to be called sales, but that's okay. She's still selling real estate. But at the end of the day, you know how to put it on paper and organize the plan. And that's something that's so different. So one of the things that we've done was we've taken the webinar, which is like the mouthpiece of what it is like to buy a house for first-time home buyers. And then we take the next step into the one-on-one individual calls. And we've seen a lot of success with that. So it's taking this big picture item and condensing it into a customized version for the client, which I think is awesome. So, and Emily's created this, and I've kind of followed your lead by the way on that, because I think that's just a great way to look at how to put somebody in a house and have a great experience and not have these horror stories a lot of people are having right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the way that we do it is a slow introduction with like the buyer workshop. And then it's like, okay, that's the next big step. And I think at that point, they're afraid of the numbers. They're afraid on what's on the other side. But I think if we can kind of guide them through it, and I think I've seen that like sometimes people want to separate like the real estate portion and the mortgage portion, but I think there's so many things where it just is so helpful to have the lender and the real estate agent on the same page at those meetings together. And obviously, you know, those numbers are confidential if the client wants them to be, but sometimes it is helpful to like open the curtain and let us both see what we're working with so we can help you the best that we can together as a team. Gosh.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly what I think everybody should be doing. I've caught so many people in the last 30 to 45 days that have been surprised by other numbers, been surprised by some people are even doing bait and switch. When you get into a market where half the people are leaving out of the industries as a whole, you get weird things that pop up. Fraud, you get bait and switches, and just a lack of integrity. And so to do this like that, how you created it, it creates a space where people can be educated. And that's the biggest thing. So
yeah.
And I think how you created it, you're leaving a legacy with other people if they want to follow that. Along with that, you have built your team. So tell me about that.
Yeah, it's a small team.
Small and powerful, mighty.
But yeah, I always thought, you know, I was kind of maxing out the amount of buyers that I could take. Gets to a point where you're just constantly driving and on the phone, and you know you're just maxing out, and you need some help. Which was funny because right around that time, she was actually a previous client of mine. She had bought a condo. She had reached out saying she was interested in real estate, and I was like, oh, great. So I sat down with her, and, you know, over the course of, I'd say like 6 months to a year, we kind of talked about it, and she decided she wanted to pursue it, you know, part-time. So ever since then, Bailey got her license about a little over a year ago. She's been helping me out. She lives in the city. So, and I used to live in the city, so I was doing a little bit more city business, but with the back and forth, it just doesn't make sense for me to do that. So now she's kind of taken over that aspect for me. And she's been a huge help, and she's also a go-getter, which I love about her. But I love having somebody to like mentor and help too. So that's been really fun, you know, having her along for the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've always said, Emily, you could own a company, you know? And so she's starting that as and you got to take a step back. It's like you were in the corporate mold, and then you said, you know, it's not me. So yeah. I need to use this entrepreneurial spirit, which is, I think, a combination of a lot of things when we're talking. And it's the athlete in you, it's the competitive drive.
What's funny though is like growing up, I was like straight A student. I was like, you know, I did everything I was supposed to do, and I got into the corporate world because of that. You know, you're just kind of like, oh, I need a job. I need stability. But then there was like something like in the back of my head that was like, this isn't what I thought it would be. Like, this isn't enough for me.
Oh
so
gosh.
I don't know. It's just funny looking back because I was always like just trying to do the right thing, just trying to like get all straight A's and, you know, do everything how I was supposed to do. But sometimes you just have to take a risk and listen to what's going on in the back of your head because, you know, it kept getting louder. And I was like, okay, I have to listen.
Well, I'm seeing a lion rise up inside of you. I've been watching you, like, not creepy, don't worry. Like how you have been, because I saw that in you. I saw that you were kind of like walking down the line, the fine line, and now I'm seeing this lion just rise up. 2023 was a crazy year. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
A lot of changes. I mean, the market started to change a little bit with rates going up and the market kind of slowed down. I was going through a hard time personally with a breakup and a move, and I was experiencing burnout at the same time just from working, you know, nonstop the past couple of years previous. So I really hit a point where I was just like, oh my God, like, I don't know, like things were great. And then all of a sudden they weren't. And I was like, all right, I got to reset here. So I've taken some time to kind of like take a step back and, you know, still keep things going and still keep enough on my plate to where, you know, I'm making money, but, you know, not where I'm overwhelming myself and where I can take a step back and figure out, okay, how do I want to move forward from here? And I'm super excited about 2024 because I feel like it's like a comeback year. 2023, I just, you know, my sales were pretty stable. But I almost feel like I was like disappointed in myself because of that. But at the same time, you have to realize like sometimes you need to take that step back because you can't grow if you're continuing to push yourself past your limit. So yeah, I don't know. It was a big learning year for me. And I think there's a lot of growth that I've experienced already just going through that. And I'm excited because I think there's still more growth for me to experience. And I think 2024, like I said, it's going to be a comeback year.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it in your eyes. It's crazy. I mean, because I saw you going through the rough patches and then I'm like, okay. And I went through this a while back too. And I started seeing people lean in. Is he going to be okay? What's going to happen? Is he going to jump off a cliff or something? And
sometimes it feels like it, but
sometimes it does. But, you know, but watching you, I've seen you just kind of go, no, I'm not going to let, like, there's that stubbornness. And my dad was stubborn. And I always said that was a good quality he had because that's
to a certain point.
To a certain point. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of combination of stubbornness and ambition. Like there's that ambition that you have and there's that drive. And that's where like, no, you're not going to let anything get in the way of that. So I think that's been a beautiful thing to watch. So you've been just crushing it. And I'm excited to see what you're going to do for 2024. If you had a goal in mind this year, what's your goal?
I mean, I'm always trying to set goals. I think this year I want to help at least 30 families buy or sell. And I want to fine tune my my systems and my processes and just figure out how can I best serve the clients that I can take on now, and then kind of think about the future, like how to grow from there, potentially building on to a team if it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But right now I'm really happy with where I'm at, and it's almost kind of hard to take like to let go of certain things that I'm so involved in my business, like with like the marketing of it and like the whole process. I try to be there every step of the way, which is a good thing and a bad thing. You know, it takes away time from building my business, but you know, I'm there for my clients 100% of the time.
Right.
And I don't ever want that to stop. But I want to figure out ways where I can build from there too.
Yeah.
So, 30 families in 2024 and just consistency and trying to maintain, that consistency. I think what is your 2024 is about being consistent too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're consistent in the 30 under 30. You're consistent at winning 30 deals or not 30 deals, but one deal out of 30 offers, right? That's huge.
The 30 number. It's the 30 number.
It's the 30
right?
number.
Yeah.
So 30 families this year.
Yeah. It's a lucky number, right? So
I think so.
Got to make it my number.
And they've always said too, like when we talk about niches, get riches, like putting one simple goal, that right there is going to keep you accountable. Like if you like, and we go back and we say, I want this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. Next thing you know, you're done after 30 days, right?
Yeah.
So like getting past the January piece and actually being consistent with that. So it's, I can't believe it. We're the date of filming this is 2 weeks into January, and I'm already feeling like we're about 30 days in already.
I know.
Just because everybody's ramped up.
Yeah.
You know, so I think you're going to crush it this year. I know you're going to crush it this year.
Yeah. I want to do, I forgot about this. I want to do at least 7 virtual workshops.
Okay.
And then at least 1 or probably 2 in-person ones.
Yeah, we did
those
that.
Those are tough, but to get people to show up sometimes. But I think there's a lot of value in them and being able to meet people face to face. So I want to be able to, really market those and get people to show up for those as well.
Well, I believe you. You will.
Yeah.
I've seen other first-time homebuyer webinars and events, and Emily literally, she just got it down to a science. And we've closed people after those webinars, and the experience has been so smooth because of how you structured it on the upfront. So with that being said, we're going to move into the 3 questions we end with in our Loans and Drones podcast forum. So first question, if you could have dinner with anybody in the world today, who would it be?
That's a good question. Well, I just finished Becoming Michelle Obama.
Okay.
Probably her, because I just finished her book, and she has a great story, and she's very intelligent, and I don't know, she's a girl boss, so I don't know, it'd probably be her.
Awesome. Like I said, get ready. She's going to be owning a company someday. Watch. If you could be anywhere, like travel anywhere, doesn't matter where. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you be right now? Besides the podcast, of course, because this is pretty cool.
That's tough. I've always wanted to go to Greece. I feel like Greece it looks beautiful. I have to see if it's as beautiful in person as it is in pictures. I also have a special place in my heart for Australia. I studied abroad there, so it'd be awesome to go back and do some of the things that I couldn't do when I was there.
Okay, cool. Last question, favorite food?
That's hard. Like favorite food category or favorite food?
Favorite food, like if your go-to, like if this is your last meal, that's pretty morbid, but.
Yeah, last meal. Okay, so last meal would probably be steak, filet.
Oh, a steak person.
Medium rare. Yeah.
Medium rare.
Mm-hmm. Crispy Brussels sprouts. Some kind of like potato, some like scallop potato, probably.
Okay.
And then I have to have a dessert too. I have a big sweet tooth, so probably like some type of like apple like cobbler with ice cream or something.
You're talking supper club here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So you're not from Wisconsin, but you have family in Wisconsin, don't you?
We vacation. We used to go up there, rent out a log cabin for a week every year.
Because I'm dying to go to a supper club.
Yeah, that's supper club kind of material right there.
Yeah, my stomach is literally growling as we're talking right now.
Mine too.
All right. It's about that time, right?
Yes, it is.
Well, I appreciate you joining us, Emily. And every time you have just the class and the drive, I'm like I said, I'm watching how this line is coming out in 2024. Watch out for Emily. So, and this goes back to the niches get riches. So if you're in this business, and let's say it's your first year in the business, be careful of going too far outside the box. Stick with a narrow piece, and then I think you'll see major success from just doing that alone. I've done it, and then Emily's doing it right now with how she's running her business, and you can see success in that. So with that being said, we will see you on the next episode of Loans and Drones. Have a great day.